Hey, good morning, everyone, and thanks for waking up with me. So I read an article last night that had me thinking half the night. I was up thinking about it and contemplating a variety of things, and I'd like to relate that to you a little bit. So the author of the story was talking about how when they were uh, when they were very young, they noticed how they had separated from their friends as they became of drinking age and kind of split it off into basically two groups. One who loved to go out to the clubs and go dancing all the time, and another that just liked to go to the local pub or just bar and sit and casually have drinks and talk with their friends, and uh, and they. They tried going to a club. This particular author had gone to a club and didn't like the music, didn't like the constant droning of the bass and the crowd and the people bumping up against him nonstop and things like that and just decided that dancing was just not for her, just not for her. And so for the next several years, if there was any invitations at all to go dancing, the immediate answer was to decline. And years later, she was traveling, and happened to be talking with another woman, and was traveling abroad actually, and they were having a conversation. And as the conversation was progressing, as we are getting to know each other, there were more and more things that she felt she identified with this other person. And then the subject of music emotion. Well, the author loved music, absolutely, just didn't believe in dancing. And this new person that she was talking to, this new woman, adored dancing and just the feeling of letting the music go through her and whatever her experience was for her. And she, the author, held herself back from judgment to listen through it and to contemplate possibly a different point of view. This is like 12 years now later from the time that she made that decision. She's now in her early 30s, and she's just not the same person she was when she was, back just finding out about clubs and just going out and dancing and just doing those things. In fact, she wasn't the same person she was even a few years before, right? And that's where I'll depart from that story. The whole point of me making this channel was about realizing things that I had missed in life. And the story that I read is exactly just that. And the title of it was "The Person You Used to Be Still Tells You What to Do." And I found that very provoking to my way of thinking. And let me explain a little bit more why. There are things in my life that I thought I had knew enough about, or had an experience that made me make a decision, whatever that was, and that's something that I stuck with, and many times maybe still stick with. Some things I just don't even realize that's the way I've done, because maybe some small incident happened at the time that I first experienced it that turned me off to it, or there was something that I didn't like about it, or maybe there was something I did like about it, and now as I grow older, I'm possibly stuck with that thinking because I'm not necessarily reevaluating it. And the reality is I'm in a different place in my life now, just as you are, from decisions you made several years ago. And we may be shutting ourselves off to things that we might actually really enjoy having in our life, things that might really make a difference. Just in the event of the dancing thing that this person was describing, think about it. So by declining to go out dancing, by declining to go out and have that experience, by declining to go out and meet new people, possibly make new friendships, understand possibly even different genres, different social groups, different thinking. Like for example, I explored rap music several years ago, and that opened the door to a whole different circle of friends that I didn't have before because they didn't like it. And I guess I could probably say the same thing about country music. I kind of shunned country music at an early age because my stepfather was an avid country music lover, but that was at a time when Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn and some of the old style country was the dominant part of the market. Country music has changed substantially since then, and it's not nearly the same. It's not the same feel. It's not the same vibe. It's not the same thing. And in many ways, it's not the same kind of mentality of people that follow it. I think that would be fair to say. You know, it doesn't mean that they're just some country hick, that they're some backwoods person. And I'm not saying that about my stepfather, but except that he was from the Midwest, and he enjoyed the fact that he was a country boy and of simple means and simple needs and simple way of life. And that worked very well for him. I myself are much more urban and have chose to be for the most of my adult life. So we're on different paths. That doesn't mean one is better than the other. It just means it's just my different perspective from his. But I could say on him for that matter, the friendship that he and I developed over the years, even more so as I became more and more adult, I guess would be one way to say it. My perspective on his way of thinking and the way he looked at life and the way he did things changed substantially. I didn't always agree with things that he had done, nor did I always agree with things that he did later on in life. But I did see value in the experience, and I did see value in the exchange. And it makes me wonder, the article and thinking back and reflecting back on a variety of things in my life, whether it's music or whether it's relationships or whether it's lessons that I've just learned in general, it makes me want to go back and reevaluate every lesson that I think I've learned in life. And that's really what this whole waking up thing that I'm calling this is all about. It's not about the woke movement as much as it's really about waking up to so many more things in life than just whether or not I'm in the right place as far as feeling whether or not I'm prejudiced or that I'm aware of young people. I've lived my life without prejudice, at least that I was aware of, put it that way. And even at that, I will admit that I've evolved substantially over the last decades that I've been living. I came up in a different social time and place than where I currently live. And of course, it's a very different time these days. And this year in 2020, here in America, it's really different as we're having several weeks now of protest, and the racial unrest that's going on in our country has reared its ugly head again. Really a little late, and maybe late. No, long overdue. It's not too late. I don't want to imply that, but it's certainly long overdue. You know, we had the civil rights movement in the 60s, and there was a great deal of unrest back then, and a lot of violence ensued because of it. And I fear that we're on the same path right now, some 50 years later. And it's frustrating that we're still learning those lessons, that we're still trying to get our head around the fact that human beings are human beings. And there's so many other things that I could go off with on this particular subject, but I want to keep it simple to looking back at ourselves, looking back at the experiences that have dictated what you decide is the thing for you, it's your thing or not your thing. And maybe taking a second look at that, because you're a little older now, and maybe you live in a different part of the country now, and you're surrounded by a different circle of people. And are you in the right circle of people? Do you have the right friends even? Are you compensating for things that you're missing out on, or are you accepting the status quo, or are you reevaluating yourself and thinking about why you might have some of these silent but limiting prejudices within your life? I have friends across all types of backgrounds, ethnicities, income brackets, sexual preference, types of marriage, all sorts of things. And so I thought I was pretty aware and pretty open. And yet, as I go through this process of waking up, and in part through the research I'm doing, but I'm doing this, and I'm doing this channel because that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm reevaluating, I'm rethinking so many things that I thought were true in life that don't have the same truths for me today as they did 10, 20 years ago when I made that first choice, or even just a couple years ago when I made an assumption that I thought this is the way things are. I invite you to do the same. Think about your life and some of the things that you've chose to do, some of the things that you've limited yourself from. Have they served you well? Would you maybe have been served better by opening your mind to different types of friends? I don't mean instead, but maybe in addition to. Or maybe instead, quite frankly, maybe instead. Maybe that would be the answer. Are you tolerant of things that you actually find distasteful and feel that you have to do that? Because the reality is, my friends, there are millions of people out there. And along with that, that means there are millions of opinions and millions of points of view. And we're all different, we're all unique. So maybe it's time to rethink and take another look. That's my thought for the day. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're not a subscriber already, I hope you'll click that button and subscribe to me. It really helps me out. Also, click that bell so that you'll get notified the next time I post a video. And please, by all means, put your comments down below. I read every one of them, and I greatly enjoy your comments, your feelings, your opinions of what I have to say. Thanks so much. I'll see you again tomorrow.